up there. If you can take your seat, everyone, we'll get started. Good evening and welcome. My name is Dick Lindsay, and I'll see if I can run this railroad tonight. I'd like to thank all of you for attending. Gerry was commenting in my ear as we were sitting eating dinner. He said he didn't know he owed this many people money. But I'd like to thank you all for showing up. We have an excellent crowd. We're going to have some fun tonight and get to know Gerry just a little better than maybe some of us had. We have some tributes for him, looking back on his 27 plus years of service with this company, and a few stories to tell. Before getting started, I'd like to acknowledge the people who made this all possible and put this together. Really, the chief engineer is Donna Johnson. Donna's been also Sally Baucom, who last week was desperately trying to get people to turn in their reservations for tickets. Sally was also responsible for the setups, the centerpieces, I should say, centerpieces, and I believe which are all done very nicely in the Gerry Knechtel theme, right? Also working with Sally, Verna Arnold, Wilma Sydenham. You can raise your hands. I see Wilma there, yes. Verna. Carrie Snyder-Hilly. Carrie Snyder-Hilly, is she here? Oh, okay. Well, when she comes in, let's give her a hand. And she'll never know why. And also Linda Peterson. Linda, where are you? And running the videotape machine in the corner is Rick Morehouse. Rick is taping this for later. Rick is taping this for later review and critique, as we do everything we do. And Rick also created the picture in front, which is of young Gerry. I don't know what you were doing there, Gerry, but you were having fun.
I was on the bench.
On the bench, okay. I also would like to introduce Gerry's handsome family, who are all with him tonight. His wife, Marlene. His daughter, Jane. Son, CL. And his other daughter, Karen. Well, this is a great pleasure for me to serve in this capacity tonight. I've known Gerry for at least 25 years. I can remember when Gerry first came down from Guelph, where he was first hired. In fact, I played a very minor role in bringing him down. In fact, it was a real minor role. I don't even remember what I did, but I do remember there was some urgency at the moment because Gerry was known for his golfing prowess, and I think we had to get him down before the golf season started, if I remember right. You know, Gerry, I haven't seen you this excited or this happy since you heard that Lee Ledbetter was retiring. Well, Gerry, we're here tonight to honor, to pay tribute to you, and recognize you as you set out for retirement after more than 27 years with our company. Now, Gerry, for those of you who don't know him, he guided and directed our company probably during its most successful years, guided the financial operations during the most successful years. His latest triumph being the disposal, which took a lot of hard work, the disposal of our property in Bayamon, Puerto Rico, and that happened just last month. Gerry is a seasoned professional, a certified public accountant, or as they're known outside the United States in most countries, a chartered accountant. He's also an exceptionally talented athlete. an outstanding golfer with many championships to show for his wizardry on the links. Among his many achievements, he was junior champion of Ontario for 2 years running. He has all kinds of trophies, and if you haven't had a chance to look at his scrapbook, it's great to go through, and it's on the other side of the door, of the opening just outside this room, and I'd urge you to take a look and see the many pictures of Gerry as a golfer, and also he was a basketball player of some note. Gerry, I think we're going to have to stop right here and clear the air, though. I'm going to start losing this group if we keep on like this. Why shouldn't Gerry be a great golfer? Does it really take any great shakes to be an accountant? He had to do something to occupy his time. You see, now from a human resource standpoint, accountants are probably one of the easiest professions to recruit. Because now, see, when we look for engineers, we look for someone who is creative, someone who is just bursting with ideas, has vision. Who wants a creative accountant? Those guys end up in jail. Marketing people have to be persuasive. They also sometimes end up in jail. In the accounting world, people are irrelevant. Yeah, I've never known why accountants always want to be certified. You always hear certified public accountant. Isn't accountant a good enough title by itself? Doesn't it have nobility to it? Certified, Gerry, is what Fred Meyer calls their aspirin. The last person who called me certified made me mad. Boy, was she surprised. And public, what does that add to the profession? Certified public. Bathhouses are public. Restrooms are public. They're public nuisances. Public embarrassments. But the accounting profession, I do enjoy, I do appreciate more the chartered accountant. So you have class. All accountants have to know, really, if you get right down to it, is to add and subtract whole numbers. Profit is calculated, if you can bear with me, profit is calculated simply by taking sales, subtracting expenses. If you construct a balance sheet, you put your assets on the left, the liabilities on the right. What's left over is surplus. And get this, if you're an accounting analyst? Financial analyst, that's right. If you're a financial analyst, you look at the deficit and what do you say? We're well positioned for the recovery. Or we're cautiously optimistic about next year. And picky? My God, accountants can be picky. Gerry brought a whole new meaning to the word or the phrase trivial pursuit. Senior management, though, on the other hand, senior management needs to have vision. Accountants drive their cars by looking out the rearview mirror. They record what's already happened. Where they are going is unimportant. And I believe that the body damage observed over the years in Gerry's company cars will support the statements I just made. Actually, Gerry, it was quite a relief for us when you decided to buy your company car. With everyone familiar with the way Gerry takes care of his cars and drive them, we were afraid that we would have to take it across the state line to get rid of it. Well, one of the great joys of doing this type of thing is to see everybody involved in the frantic search for character flaws. And our first speaker tonight, and speaking of characters, flawed or otherwise, we have Mike Westwood.
Yeah, right. Well, Dick said he was going to warm everybody up before I got here. Kind of hard act to follow. Okay, well, as the first speaker, well, second speaker, since the opening address seemed to be longer than most of the speeches, I figured I was going to get to set the tone. And as Dick alluded to, when you get to talking about people of the accounting persuasion, you know, most of them are pretty straight kind of guys, and Gerry is certainly a pretty straight guy, and it's kind of hard to dig up very much dirt on Gerry. About the only thing that I could think about was that time in Brazil, but then we promised we wouldn't talk about that anymore, so I pass on that one. Gerry, as most of you know, is a gentleman, and I want to tell you a little bit about how much of a gentleman Gerry is. We were playing golf one day many years ago in the Portland City Golf League, and we were out at Rose City. And we were on the first tee, and Gerry, being the low handicap of the group, got the tee off first in his group, and the opponent was late. So finally, here comes this guy scurrying up, gets up to the tee, gets out a ball, gets out a tee, sets it down, whack. Tops the thing, and it went boom, 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 under a bush. Well, as I said, Gerry's a gentleman. So, he says, Hal, you were rushed, you were hurried. He said, go ahead, take a mulligan, take it over. So the guy did. Damn near drove the green on a par 4, proceeded to chip on and sink it for a birdie, and beat Gerry one up on the front side. Now, fortunately for us, Gerry won the backside and tied the match, but Gerry, clearly demonstrates that chivalry exists on the golf course. Fortunately for some of us, he also demonstrates that chivalry exists at the poker table. Gerry is well known for diligently staying in the game, basically to ensure that whoever wins gets a real decent pot. And it's kind of our fervent hope, Gerry, that even though you're retiring, you don't retire from poker. Now, one of my kind of fervent beliefs, Gerry, is that retirement speeches should be mercifully short. And so I'm going to keep mine short, but I would like to close with a couple of comments. I'd like to wish you all the best in your retirement. I'd like to point out that I do feel awfully sorry for your girlfriends. They are clearly going to spend a lot of money in the future months trying to keep pace with your drop in handicap. And I suspect that you already have that whole golf scenario listed as supplemental income. But I do know that you have some ambitions as far as what you want your handicap to reach. And I hope that you achieve that. And as a reminder of that, I have a package here. You can see that I had Lois carefully wrap it before she left for Salem, so let me get that. Before Lois hears about that, I wrapped it. Gerry, this is a reminder of what your target for your handicap is. If you'd like to come up. I'll tell you the story about how I came to have it later, but anyway, you might want to... Don't damage the package.
How careful we are, accountants are very good.
Gerry said he intends to be a 2 handicap, so just in case he can't remember what that looks like. Gerry, all the best. I should point out for you guys that are following me, I tried to set the standard on time too, guys. Keep it short.
I've known our next speaker for many years. I can remember Wilma and I took a first aid class together probably 20 years ago. And I didn't know really how to introduce Wilma, but I'd like to say that she's the only female with guts enough to goose a vice president as she's going up the stairs.
Lighten up this crowd. I was afraid you were getting too serious, so I got a squirt gun. And the darn thing's so cheap it don't have it watered anymore, so forget that, you know. I have a couple of stories to tell on Gerry, but first I want to show him one of his gifts, in case you recognize that. And the story I want to tell Gerry that I enjoy, it's personal, you don't always remember things about a person, is that he'd come out walking with me. I need to walk. And I could never keep up with him. I'm going as fast as I can. And he'd turn around and run backwards as fast as I was walking forwards. You know, that's Gerry. And the other story to tell on him is he and Barbara Verbeck shared the fact that they came to work. In Gerry's case, he was wearing loafers, but one was black and one was brown. So I bought you some retirement shoes. You've been great to have around, Gerry, and I hope you enjoy yourself. These are for you.
I called Wes Richards about a month or so ago and asked Wes if, as a retiree and one of, I believe, Gerry's golfing instructors, if he might share some stories with us. Wes asked me if he had to be nice, and I said, "No, Wes, you can just be yourself." Wes?
Well, Gerry, I knew that everybody would be getting up here tonight and saying nasty things. And I thought it'd be nice to have a little change or interlude along the way. So I sat down and made a list of all the nice things I could think about you. I took a couple days, and I made a list. There was a big list. But when I pulled it out today, I don't know what ink I used, but it must have faded because I couldn't find a thing on it. So I thought, what the hell, Wes? Go with the flow. Be nasty. Gerry's a pretty complex man. I'm not sure all of you are aware of this. Got a fantastic touch for horticulture. He and I were golf partners for what I'm sure he thought was 110 years on a common lake. And I used to help him out with the plants. He had this phobia about poison oak. I don't know what he thought that stuff was going to do to him, but I'm sure it was mortal. And he would do things like point at a dandelion. This was after 10 years of coaching. He would point at a dandelion and say, hey, Wes, is that poison oak? One day, he hit one of his beautiful drives out in the middle of a blackberry patch. He was surrounded by blackberries, thorns. The got ready to swing, and he said, "Hey, Wes, is this poison oak?" And I said, "Yes." And he jumped so much he scratched his legs. He's also very mechanically minded. I don't know why you laugh. Somebody gave him one of these little travel clocks, or maybe even bought it. And we were on what we called the Oregon Golf Open. We would get a bunch of guys together and go over to Eastern Oregon and play 2 rounds of golf a day. And you had to move very quickly to do this. And we'd move from one course to another. Well, this one night we ended up in Bend at a motel. Mike Westwood made the arrangements, so we were in the wrong motel. And the motel that we ended up in didn't have anybody on the desk after 7 in the evening and before 8 in the morning, so we had to get ourselves up. Because we had to get up early, eat breakfast, and drive to the next golf course. We're sitting there the night before, and Gerry says, "Hey, do any of you guys know how to set these electronic alarm clocks?" And Charlie Bailey leaped to the task and said, "Sure, Gerry," and he showed him how to do it. So the next morning, still dark, the alarm goes off. Gerry gets up out of bed with a rush, dashes into the shower. He takes 5 showers a day when he's on a golfing trip, and changes clothes 6 times. But he dashed in there and started to sing and take a shower. Now, Gerry likes to sing in the shower. Nobody else seems to enjoy it, but Gerry sure does. So he came out of there, the steam was billowing out of the room, and he's toweling himself off, and he says, "Hey, fellas, aren't you gonna get going? We gotta get going and play golf." And somebody said, "At 2 o'clock in the morning." He's also a very generous man. He's quite generous. Last year, we both ended up with a group of fellows going down to Death Valley in March to play golf. They have a very fancy hotel. We don't stay at that. We stay at the cheap little cabins. But this fancy hotel won't let you eat in the dining room unless you wear a tie and a jacket, and we won't carry a jacket down, so we've never been able to eat there. A couple of years ago, they opened an Italian restaurant, and you come in sport clothes. So Gerry said, "Let's go up and eat." And I said, "That's fine." We got up there, and with a flourish, the wave of the hand, Gerry says, "Wes, tonight the neck is going to buy the wine." And I said, "You don't have to do that." He says, "The neck is going to buy the wine." Then she bought the wine list, and he sat there for the longest time, reading and reading. I got all through, and he said, "Then again, maybe I won't." And a story, or a group of stories about Neck wouldn't be complete without a golfing story. And Knechtel won't maybe remember this one. He'd like to forget it. But we were playing a company tournament out at his golf course, and on the 12th hole, lo and behold, he hit a crooked drive. And we got up to it, and it's at the base of a tree with limbs coming out over his head. Gerry's very cool. He likes everybody to realize that he's very smooth and cool. So he takes a couple of practice swings. Well, for your non-golfers, when you take a practice swing, you don't really get your heart into it. And so you don't fully extend your arms. So when he went to hit the ball, he fully extended everything, hit the branch in back of him, and with the ball. That means his club completely missed the ball. And we gave this embarrassed little chuckle and gave some explanation. I can't remember what it was. I was laughing so hard I couldn't hear too well. So he took another practice swing and missed the branch. Then he went into the big swing, hit the branch again with the ball again. But he was cool. He never got excited, never lost his temper, never said a word. But after he got into the golf course and he was by himself,
John Kreitz, I was having difficulty reading my notes, and I'm not sure if John is Jerry's caddy or buddy. But John has a golfing story for us.
A while back, the directors used to get out of town and have a meeting every once in a while. And as the way things are going, that's probably history. But one of the things that used to happen when we get out of town, Gerry would always bring his golf clubs along, and it made a nice kind of a break when we'd take a little powder in between sessions. One of the things Gerry would do is he'd kind of take the golf clubs out, and he'd go out and he'd do a little practicing. And he'd say, well, John, come out here. You don't play much golf, and maybe I can give you a couple of tips. And I'd say, okay, Gerry, let's see what you got. So he'd go out and he'd practice his chip shots and approach shots and try to explain the game to me. And what he really was doing is getting me to chase the goddamn balls. So he'd hit about a dozen or so balls, and I'd go out and say, is this how you do it, Gerry? And he'd say, that's it. You just go a little farther, and I'd go pick up all these balls for him. And then a lot of times I'd come back, and Gerry'd already be back in the room, and the guys had started their sessions, so I'd have all of this extra equipment with me. So I got to be looking in my garage last night, and I thought, well, I ought to really give some of this stuff back to Gerry tonight. And I need a little help, Gerry. I got about a dozen of these golf balls. And I was looking at them, and I know you're a real pro, so you probably use a special ball. But I'm a little confused as to why they would say Silverado Golf Club, and they got these big orange stripes on them. And on the back, they say range. So, I don't know, is a range ball a really good golf ball, Gerry?
You got the wrong ball by mistake.
Oh, no, not again. Well, here's a dozen golf balls for your pleasure. And these are the ones that I chased for you. And I got to also add, in all seriousness, one of the nice things about working with Gerry is he was really the class act of working with the directors. He always had took the high ground, very ethical, and very much the professional, and I enjoyed working with you, Gerry.
That's right, you were the caddy. Also took some balls to tell that story, John. We have, Gerry, for you several letters that have come from the outline operations, and to give this a bit of an international flavor, we have Cyril Michel, who can speak French better than any of us can, and Jan Jones, who's going to do her best to fake a Japanese and British accent.
Thank you, Dick. As Dick said, we've got to read those letters, and that's probably the easiest assignment for us to do it in French. So,
You gonna go first?
ladies first.
Ladies first. I really like this one. This one is from Akitoshi Ueda in Japan, and he goes, message to Gerry Knechtel. I wish you could have pleasant life after long servicing in Omark and Blunt. Somehow, that kind of sounds to me like a bull talking to a cow saying, it's been nice servicing you. Sorry, Cyril. I got to talk to Akitoshi tomorrow, I can tell. Also, Akitoshi says, I will also challenge a new life soon. For those of you who don't know, Akitoshi will be leaving the company for a new job at the end of September. Cyril?
Gerry, as promised, I know over the years you've practiced French, so this one is in French. That's from your friends in Bida. Fini les soucis, vive les hobbies, heureuse retraite. I might switch to another language, perhaps a bit more familiar. Means no more worries, enjoy the hobbies, and happy retirement. Our best wishes for a very successful and happy retirement. We know you have enough hobbies to find the days too short to do them all. That's from Louis. And then from Michel and his team, many thanks for all these years of helpful support, useful advice, and wonderful friendship. If by any chance you find some free time, and I might edit that and say, if Marlene decides to send you to Europe, please do not hesitate to come and see us. Be sure to know that you will always be welcome. And it's signed by the whole team in Ibiza.
From Paulo and Amorum, Dear Gerry, please accept our thanks for all your teaching, support, and patience in listening to our tiring explanations and weather reports on inflation, devaluation, credit limits, bonded warehouses, etc., etc., etc. We wish you have a lot of fun in whatever you decide to do from now on. Thanks again, and come see us when you have a break from your servicing. I mean vacationing. All the best from your Brazilian friends, Paulo and Amorium.
That's great. Dick said we had several letters from Ibiza. The first one was indeed from the administration team. There is another one written by Jan Westland. It's really Mr. Europe. It says this, Dear Gerry, from all of us at Ibiza, many thanks for your efforts, and we hope you've had many good years to come. And this one is from the administration department in Brazil. Now, try this Portuguese accent, Gerry. Whoa, it's great. No more running around the clock. No more waking up that early in the morning. No more troubles with numbers and reports. Well, we think this is paradise. Time to enjoy yourself. And for us, it's time to say, thanks, fellow. For your being just the way you've been, Gerry, all these years we've worked together. For your help and your patience with all this mess here in Brazil. For your information, it remains not the same, it's quite worse. You are jumping out just in time. Might stop the camera and edit that one. Also, for all your visits to Brazil, only 3 in all these years, what a shame. This we could never forgive. Anyway, if some of these days you want to come by to see us, again, I need to edit that and say, if Marlene decides you need to go over there, you will be welcome, and then of course we will think on forgetting this part of missing the visits. Well, now it's time to say goodbye and good luck. Wish you and your family all the best in this new period of your life. And if eventually you come to feel like willing to work, here comes a little advice from Brazil. Look for a good tree with a generous shadow and relax under it for a while. You'll notice that soon the willing to work will disappear. All the best, all your Brazilian friends, Silvio, Valdir, Amorim, Marlene, Dina, George, Mauricio, Valeria, you know all them all. I'd like to add one more note, Gerry. I'm very happy to be here today, here and in this country. I still would like to add one thing. You're probably responsible for a cultural crime. I used to enjoy mayonnaise and mustard on my French fries. Now I'm feeling to appreciate ketchup and that stuff.
To Gerry, think of your retirement not as an ending, but as a beginning of a special time in your life, a time filled with new joys, new interests, and lifelong dreams come true at last. Congratulations. Have a great time. Perhaps Marlene and you can do some traveling, and first stop in Australia. Many thanks for all your help over the years, Charlotte and Dudley. And also, I have a little story to tell on Gerry personally. You've heard about the man with the golden gun. Well, I'd like you to hear about the man with the golden golf balls. A few years ago, we had a controllers conference at the beach, and Gerry and the guys went out playing a little pool. Well, they went to this bar along the bay in Newport, and as Gerry was bent over the pool table for his perfect shot, look at him. There was this old sea hag type of lady in the bar who had had her eyes on him all evening. And as he was bent over as those little golf guys on your table, she ran up behind him and grabbed him, well, I can't mention where. But I'm sure you'll all understand. Ask Gerry and he'll tell you about it.
What a guy with the ladies. We're indeed fortunate in this company and tonight to have probably the two best fishing guides in the Northwest, Larry Ward and Larry White. And they are going to gang up on Gerry and tell a bit of a fishing story for us.
Gerry, tonight we have a story, and there's two parts to the story. There's some good news, and there's some bad news, and we want to share it with everybody who's here. And first of all, it's appropriate to talk about the bad news. We apologize that we don't have any hard evidence, pictures about your non-financial professional endeavors. However, we're certain that you will recall in vivid color the events that we're about to describe, which of course is the good news. So here it is. Long about 1974, you were into some father-son bonding with CL here. I'm sure you remember that. And decided it was time to teach him about the joys and rewards of deep sea salmon fishing at the mouth of the Columbia River. So arrangements were made with Larry Ward and me to be your coaches and native guides for a day of fun. We're confident that you'll be pleased with the detail we remember about that wonderful experience. Now that you're retiring, we want to offer some free coaching for your next salmon fishing trip, because as we recall, you haven't been fishing for the last 18 years. So now here's Captain Larry Ward, who's going to give you the details.
Well, I'm sure CL and Gerry remembers that day quite well, off the mouth of the Columbia in the Pacific Ocean. Larry and I didn't do a real good job of coaching before that trip, so we're going to endeavor to start at the beginning once again. And the beginning always deals with motion sickness when you go out in the ocean. As you remember, that is probably where, if I can use the words, lost it in the first time. And I've searched around and I've talked to a few people as to how you can keep from getting motion sickness when you're on the ocean. And one of the first people I talked to was Russ Phillips. Now, Russ's remedy deals with Karo syrup. Russ says that if you drink half of this bottle before you go fishing and then take the rest of it as you're fishing, you'll never get seasick. And Russ swears by it. So, Gerry, we have one of those, okay? Other people swear by Dramamine and that, but of all of the people that we've taken out fishing, the ones who have taken Dramamine, Mesodrine, and the little patches behind the ear, about the only thing that did was to keep them from getting pregnant. No one got pregnant on our boat when we were fishing, but as far as seasick, they did do that. We have another individual who has been fishing with us who swears by saltine crackers. Well, I don't know, but Gerry, that's another one you should probably look into. Myself, I always like to have something on my stomach when I'm fishing, so I go with sardines. You might remember that day, Gerry, I was eating a sardine sandwich Or maybe you don't remember you and see it. Now, I also ran across a book, and it gives 25 quick action cures for motion sickness. And these are various home remedy recipes that I'll add to the collection here. But Dick can attest to the next part of this, that Larry and I, when fishing gets slow, we kind of kick back and we have nothing else to do. We'd light up a Swisher Sweet cigar. Now, that didn't keep us from getting seasick, but the other people on the boat seemed to get very green. And Dick, well, Jerry, if all of that doesn't work, we have the little bag. Now, this won't keep you from getting sick, but it will keep the boat clean. And believe me, the captain appreciates that. And UNCL, my boat, I remember it great. But if you do go back fishing, and it's like the day when we went out, and you don't catch any fish, I brought along some smoked salmon for you, so you can have that.
Gerry, I think the coaching with you probably didn't work because you never followed up. But we understand that CL is an avid fisherman, but also that he hasn't been back in the ocean again. So he has a different kind of a fisherman title, and we call him a flatland fisherman. And I understand that he was fishing recently in the Clackamas River for Chinook salmon. So at least he learned something from us. But now you've reached a milestone in your life. That's early retirement. And the best part of this is that now, after 18 years, you can start deep sea fishing again. You could actually pursue this on at least a part-time basis, but maybe even full-time, because I'm sure that you won't need all the time you're going to have available to hone your handicap. I mean, this too ought to be easy. But anyway, from Larry and I, congratulations, best wishes. By the way, remember that this was coaching. You might need some reinforcement before you master the sport. Good luck.
Larry, you said that Gerry didn't follow up. It sounds to me as if he followed up rather well. In fact, I was getting a little nervous sitting next to him there. Gerry, the next person up here is the person you really have the most to worry about. It's your former secretary. She probably knows you like a book better than anyone else in this room. Donna Johnson.
Well, because I was Gerry's secretary, they thought I should come up here and tell some stories about Gerry. You know, things like the fact that in all the years I worked for Gerry, he was never able to learn how to unlock his office door. Never could program his telephone. Never could figure out how to put a new roll of adding machine tape in his calculator. But then he always told me, he said, hey, I'm not mechanically inclined. He said, I'm a numbers man. Of course, this numbers man had his wallet stolen one day at the golf club. And inside that wallet, on a little piece of paper, tucked right in next to his Visa card, the thief found Gerry's password code number. And I understand there was a really happy thief around Portland for a while. But I can't tell those kind of stories about Gerry, so instead I'm just going to tell him how much I loved working for him, how much I'm going to miss him, and wish him a really happy retirement.
Thank you, Donna. We have some additional letters and greetings from overseas, and faking a Swedish accent and a Brazilian accent and maybe some drawls. We have two people that Jerry's worked with over the years, Kent Turnbull and John Hannaford.
Well, I thought John was going to go first, but since I'm up here and I've got a story to tell, I think I'll just go ahead. I was thinking about this, and I was trying to come up with a story for you, Jerry, and the one that I kept coming back to was actually my first day with the company. This was 14 years ago. And I don't know if you remember this, but we were up in the old admin building and big round table, and I was very nervous and being introduced to everybody in the accounting department. And suddenly Jerry sat down. Everybody made room for him, so I knew he was somebody important, but I didn't know who. And we're talking about what we did over the weekend, and the football games and everything, and suddenly Jerry looked at me and he says, "Well, Kent," he says, "what do you do when you're not working?" And he just totally took me by surprise. And I was just drew a complete blank, and I don't know if you remember what I said to you, but I looked at you and I said, "Well, Jerry, you might call me one of the great TV watchers." And I'll never forget the look you gave me. And about 10 minutes later, I was mortified to find out that you were the Vice President of Administration and Control. But anyway, Jerry, you never held it against me, and I really appreciate that. I've learned a lot from you over the years, and I really hope you enjoy your retirement. So as from one Canadian to an ex-Canadian, I'm going to read the first one here. This is a card from Guelph. It says, "Jerry, with best wishes from your friends in Guelph." I got a big button here. It says, "Goodbye and good luck. Don't forget us. You know the visiting hours, the nut house." And I think it's probably signed by everybody in the plant, and I won't read them all.
Well, Jerry, I have a few letters here, and some of them are kind of funny, but this first one's a little more serious note. I thought about dressing it up, but Dick told me that it might be a CLM. That's career limiting move, for those of you who don't know. So I'll read this one verbatim. "Dear Jerry, Carolyn and I send our best wishes to you and Marlene as you celebrate the commencement of your retirement from Oregon Cutting Systems. You have enjoyed a distinguished career with Omark as well as Blunt. You have also been a vital member of our senior management who have made Omark and Blunt the successful entity it is today. We would like to be with all of you this evening and send our warmest regards and sincere congratulations to you. On behalf of all of your co-workers throughout the organization, we thank you for your 27 years of dedicated service, and we wish you continued health and happiness in your retirement years. Sincerely, Red." This next one is another one from our friends down in Brazil, and Kent and I had a lot of fun with this because there are several signatures on it, and after looking at an organization chart and pooling our knowledge of Brazil, we know the first signature is Wanderley, and we have absolutely no idea who the rest of these signatures belong to. But it's from the Brazil Marketing Group. "We would like to thank you for all the support you gave during these years and also wish a lot of success to you with things that you'll make from now on. We hope you include Brazil when making a trip plan, and be sure that your visit here will be very appreciated. Congratulations, Marketing Brazil." This next one actually isn't a letter, but it's a personal message I want to pass on. I was talking to Terry Winslade over in Australia the day before yesterday, and he just asked me to pass on his best wishes.
This next fax that I have for you, Jerry, is from Vern Pearson in Brazil. It says, "Congratulations on this very special day for you. Your dedication and service to Omark and now Blunt makes this a very special day. Special because of your service and support to all of us who needed your support, your availability when we needed you to help solve problems, your candor when appropriate." That's a good one. "Your ability to combine the human side with the business side. You earned your retirement. Now enjoy it from this day forward. Best wishes for a very special and happy retirement from all of your friends and respected colleagues in Brazil. You will be missed, but we also know that your future will not leave out your past. We look forward to seeing you in Brazil now that maybe more time will be available. We now have 3 golf courses in Curitiba and a 4th being built, so come on down. Share some time and enjoy the South American hospitality and golf. Would like to be at your party tonight, but unfortunately could not. Have a good time. We'll be thinking about you and we'll plan to have lunch or dinner with you next time in Portland. Sincerely, Vern Pearson, General Manager, Brazil." And we have a gift here for you, Jerry, from the Brazilian operation.
Another goose shop in Portland.
The mechanical inclination is showing through.
Donna, where are you? To be a top banana. Wooden jewel box, and it's lovely.
Brazilian wood, I believe.
I think that's in this.
Okay, we have one more letter, and I think this one needs a little introduction and a disclaimer. I've traveled a few places in the world with Gerry, and for anybody who has traveled with him, they know what a great person he is to travel with. His love of flying, his facility with foreign languages, his ability to get lost within 1/10 of a kilometer from the airport. I could go on, but I won't. However, the reason I bring this up is I was not with Gerry on this trip for whatever it is they're referring to. This letter is signed by Jan-Erik Ternus, Rolf Johansson, and Lena Nordberg from Svenska. And I showed this letter to Kent because I wanted to make sure I had a witness, because I'm reading this as it is written. Dear Gerry, the guys and dolls remember with joy and pleasure your all too few visits to the land of midnight sin. Best regard and a long, happy retirement.
Wendell Walker is probably the person most responsible for breaking everybody's stereotypes of accountants. He was at one time the head of the, what was the name of our company at that time? Oregon Saw Chain Division, Accounting Department, Director of Administration and Control, which would be the equivalent of a Vice President now. And when Gerry came down, I believe Wendell was VP or the equivalent of VP of Marketing. We trained him well. We trained even in those days. And he stepped out on his own, and he is one of our best customers in the whole world at this time. Wendell.
Gerry, I'm your only friend here tonight.
I'm in trouble.
You know, I really enjoyed coming here tonight. To see a lot of these old graybeards that have retired. I've thought a lot about retiring over the years, but I've never been able to afford it. Actually, there has been some distributors retire here lately, but boy, the way they did it wasn't for me. Yeah, they talked about that scrapbook back there and the picture on the front, and then there's this picture here on this announcement they sent out telling me I had to pay this ridiculous price to come tonight. I can't tell whether he's a serial killer or a hog collar. But anyway, I'm very happy to be here tonight to talk about Gerry. Actually, I'm surprised that there's this many people here. I thought that I'd be the only one who had anything nice to say about Gerry, and that's going to be precious little. I've known Gerry for about 25 years, something like that. I can't remember how long. And during that time, I have never known him to pipe bomb an orphanage or strike his mother. That's as much nice things as I have to say about him. Gerry's the only guy that I know that is cheaper than Reese Campbell. He's the only one I know who plays golf better than Savary's. He's the only guy that I know that's more suave than John Kreitz. He's the only guy I know who has more class than George Ruggles. No, I must scrub that one. I've over-exaggerated on that one. He's the only guy I know that's a worse dresser than Tom Murphy. And he's the only guy I know at Omark that's a worse ladies' man than Bob Penberthy. You know, speaking of Penberthy, you may not know this, but he's the oldest employee of Omark who does not have a pacemaker. Gerry's the only one who butchers the King's English worse than Mike Westwood. I met Gerry, as I told you, 25 years ago or so, and I was sent to the Canadian plant as a Guy Sabin snoop. It was not an admirable assignment, but I had a very expensive wife and three sons who were even at that age. It was obvious they were going to need a lot of expensive education. So I took the job. It was a simple assignment. All I had to do was find out if Knechtel was cooking the books. He was. Okay, nevertheless, Gerry is a fine accountant. And yeah, I know what you're thinking. Who gives a shit? I want to give you my definition of accountant, and I ought to know. An accountant is someone who's skilled in math but doesn't have enough personality to be a statistician. That's about as close as I can get to Gerry. Well, anyway, in Guelph, Gerry took me home to lunch for the first day I was there. He also put me on his expense account that first day. Cute little Jane was there, about 4 years old. What a little sweetheart. She kept wanting to sit on my lap, but she had a runny nose. That was a time in my life when a runny nose really turned me off. Now that she doesn't have a runny nose, she won't sit on my lap anymore. Sort of the story of my life. Come to think of it, Marlene had a runny nose too. Noses seem to run in the Knechtel family. Gerry wasn't really very well known around the office in Guelph, but the next day when he took me to lunch at the country club, everybody knew him. They opened the car door for him, they opened the club door for him, they ushered us directly into the Knechtel table in the dining room. There was Mr. Knechtel this and Mr. Knechtel that. It was also more than obvious where he'd been spending his time. Well, Gerry finally brought his lovely family to Portland. However, it was not a promotion. He was brought down here to help improve Savary's golf. And the reason that he's retiring now is because it was absolutely impossible to improve Jimmy's golf. He may be good, but he's not a miracle worker. But Gerry, we all wish you a happy and successful retirement. I trust that you have enough cash to live in comfort. Actually, the petty cash overages from all these years should really be enough. Maybe you'll play a little golf and take a couple of strokes off your score and help Marlene around the house a little bit. And of course, keep your nose clean.
Our next speaker is my old buddy. He's all of us, I can't say it, all our old buddy. That doesn't come out right, does it? He's an old buddy. Yeah. He's also a great golfer. He's played Tahoe. He's played Las Vegas. Let's face it, he just likes to play. Fran Savary's.
I was going to come up here and say it's really nice to be here, but the first thing I did when I walked in here, they handed me an itinerary of tonight's activity, and it's got a bunch of names, and then it says Fran Savary's and anyone else with a question mark after it. The next thing that happened, I sat near Helen Frierson. I said, what a great group of people. I said, how'd they get so many? And she says to me, she says, well, Donna Johnson wrote a big list, and she gave it to Gerry Knechtel. She says, Gerry, X off everybody you want off of there. And Gerry X'd my name off, but Donna put it back on. In any event, I really am happy to be here. It's been a long time. In fact, in 3 months, it'll be 6 months for me. But hardly a day goes by that I don't think of Omark, all the fine friends, and all the trials and tribulations that we went through over the years. I wasn't told to give Gerry to burn him, so I'll just say nice things, Gerry, to you. But in any event, in most businesses like Omark, and I keep calling it Omark, I'm sorry, that's my era. In most businesses, the president or the manager of the company has one guy that he can absolutely trust. Gerry Knechtel was my man. And I remember Ashton Marcus had a guy, his name was Helmut Kastner. Most of you remember Helmut. Nothing went out of Mark's office unless Helmut approved it. And I remember one day, actually, we had to give a presentation at corporate. It was an extremely important one. We didn't have the numbers. Helmut comes running in. Mark says, let's go, Fran, let's give it. I said, wait a minute, let's check the numbers. He says, no, we don't have to check them. Helmut did it. That's the way I felt about Gerry. So, Gerry, you're 1 in a million, kid. Gerry has saved the company lots and lots of money. A lot of people don't know about it, but I'm going to give one specific. The specific is, years ago, we used to sell Homelite through their branch offices. They had 25 branch officers, they had 24 sub-branches. So there were 49 branches that our territory salesmen used to call on them and sell them, teach them how to sell Oregon chain, and try to hustle them all the time. We treated them just like distributors. We had promotions, we gave them promotional deals. At the end of every 3 months, Homelite in Port Chester would send Gerry a list of the amount of saws they sold, and we would rebate them back to a 1 per saw agreement. Well, we were having a bad year, and we had to do something quick. Corporate was on our tail to make some money quick. We were in bad shape. So we probably had one of the greatest promotions that ever happened. And we sold chain like you couldn't believe. It was huge. And about 6 months later, something kept getting to Gerry. He didn't like something. And it was a very successful promotion. We did great, made big profits. But it must have been about 6 months later, Gerry kept saying, something's wrong, we got to do something. He kept looking at this thing. It was a complicated equation. It wasn't simple. He kept looking at this thing and says, they owe us money. And I said, how much do they owe us? He says, the way I figure they owe us, I think it was either $146,500 NEC or it was $164,500. It was right in there. And no, that's right. I'm serious. That's how impressed I was with this move. And I thought, well, Gerry, you know, good luck, but I doubt if you'll ever get it from these guys. Well, good old tenacious, aggressive, Gerry Knechtel got the $164,500 from Homelite, and that even made our year better. Anyway, in this United States these days, we're having some horrible problems, and I'm speaking especially of the S&L scandals. You know, it's going to cost all of us taxpayers, billions of dollars in the years to come. It's a terrible shame. And all I can say is, had Gerry Knechtel been ahead of the bank regulators, this never would have happened. Gerry, we wish you the very best for you and Marlene, CL, Jane, and Karen. Many, many years of happiness.
I know there are some others who have indicated their desire to come up and say a few words. I see Bob Hibbert raising his hand. And it looks as if he has something under his arm. Maybe I shouldn't have said and they wouldn't have noticed, Bob.
I figured this would be worse falling fan. I think the highlight... Short joke. The highlight of my evening has been watching Dick Lindsay up here tell a balls joke in public. Gerry Knechtel has been a special guy to all of us down in facilities. And when I came back to my desk today, I found this on it, and with it was a note. And only the golfers will appreciate this. It said, I had Chris Dumit make you this gift in honor of your retirement. Because of all your helpful golf tips, I have improved my game to where it is today. If I continue to follow your example, I should be shooting even par by next year. Thanks for everything, Earl Christman. But Chris Dewitt made this, and it is really nice. It's not done yet. You can just make believe it's being accrued, and we'll give it back to you in about 2 or 3 months. Congratulations on your retirement.
That's beautiful. Others. Charlie Bailey, working his way up to the front.
Well, like most everybody else, I'm going to tell a golf story. And those of you who have golfed with Gerry, you will notice that somewhere during the round, he'll say, God, that's how I used to do it back in the streets of Kitchener. It's amazing. Rarely does he hit it off the fairway. But when he does, he scrapes that shot back out there somewhere and he goes, I learned that shot in the streets of Kitchener, the gravel streets of Kitchener. So, Gerry, I was up in Kitchener a couple weeks ago, and I brought you some gravel. That's a memento. And Jose is regretful that he can't be here, but duty calls. He's trying to fix a grinder or something. I don't know. But we drove over to Kitchener and scooped this gravel up. I think it was in Kitchener. Well, maybe it's my driveway. But next to it, we found an old scruffy golf ball and had GK on it. Gerry Knechtel, there it is. Anyway, like other people have said, Neck is a man of integrity and a principled man, and I think he's really done good for the company, and we're all going to miss him. So good luck, Neck, in your retirement, and Marlene, and I hope you're away, Marlene, so that he doesn't bug you too much at home. So.
Yes, who have I forgotten? Jane? Jane Knechtel, Gerry's daughter, is going to help her father.
This is a daughter's tribute, and have done writing, and I have wanted to write a story about my father for a long time. And part of the mythology in our family is that when my father married my mother, he had the choice of becoming a professional golfer or going into the career of accounting. And I think that he chose the career of accounting and let go of that dream to become a professional golfer, to bring security to his family and to let his children enact their dreams. And my father has provided for me and gone to private schools. I've lived in Europe, and a lot of my dreams have come true. And I just want to thank you, Dad, for making that sacrifice for me. Thank you.
We have a couple of presentations to make, and the first one I'd like to call upon the second happiest person that we had in the company when Lee Ledbetter announced his retirement, who is Ken Saito. And Ken has a presentation from the operations group.
As always, Dix is always understating everything. I wasn't happy, I was ecstatic. Have you ever seen an excited accountant before? Gerry's still smiling. Also, I'd like to correct a couple things before I start with the presentation here. I'd like to explain to Dick the facts of life here. He talked about our profession, he's dishonored it. I think if everybody stood up that was from the accounting profession, you'd only have about 2 or 3 people sitting, and that'd be probably him and Jim Osterman. But if Karen Knechtel would stand up, please, Karen. Dick. Thank you. Dick, that's a certified public accountant. I'd want to acknowledge the help that Gerry has given me over the years. He's been my coach, my teacher, a mentor, a close family friend. Almost 20 years ago, he took me under his wing when I joined the company. That's 20 years ago. Gerry was a 2 handicapper. I was 6 feet tall and weighed about 130 pounds. As you know, accountants always tell the truth. Gerry taught me the ins and outs about the profession, the Oregon Cutting Systems Division, and about the cruel realities of the business world. He took me on my first trip overseas. We traveled to places like Canada, Europe, and Brazil. When we stopped off in Canada, I was really anxious. Never met this guy named Ken Hamill, supposed to be a tough general manager, and this heavy-duty controller, George Lee. Walked in the office, and the first thing he says, "Let's go see Gerry Avolio." I said, "Who the hell is Gerry Avolio?" "Well, you gotta, I'm breaking you in right. He's the guy in charge of marketing, and that's where you get all the freebies." I said, "Thanks, coach." That night, he introduced me to pigtails, my first and last one. When we went to Europe, after spending a week there, working hard, diligently every night, I don't know what Gerry did in Sweden at night, but I was in bed, Marlene. We had some time and we had a layover in London, so he showed me the sights of London. The unfortunate thing was we started at 2 a.m. in the morning. Do you know how difficult it is to see the London Bridge at 2 o'clock in the morning? There aren't very many cars out of there. On that same trip, that suave, it was poetry in motion. We were going out to the airport. Gerry, following those directions as always, never getting lost, takes a wrong turn. We get stopped. He pulls out his passport. He says, "Let me handle this kid. I can take care of it." "Don't worry. We won't get a ticket." Sure enough, he started giving the old Canadian accent. He had yays on the end of everything. A's. There's no problem. We made it to the airport just in time for him to check in at the duty-free shop and get all his liquor. He says, "Let me show you something else." I says, "What?" He says, "Well, God, there's a great buy on this liqueur here. Geez, Marlene really loves it." I says, "Okay, but you've already bought your limit." He says, "No problem. I'll just stick it under my coat." Well, you think Gerry is sweating a lot tonight. You've seen him go through customs. When we were in Brazil, Gerry taught me that he walks his talk. One night we took a cab and came back from a meeting. We got out of the cab. Gerry immediately spotted that we were getting charged 150 cruzeros too much. He looks at me, winks, and says, "I'll take care of this, son." For the first 5 minutes, I was in awe. Here's this guy with the highest principles. I knew what he meant when he said, "You got to treat the company's money as if it's your own." 10 minutes later, he's still haggling with this guy. I'm getting tired. I says, "Gerry." He says, "What?" I says, 150 cruzeros is 6 cents. Pay the guy. Savries won't care. In all seriousness, you've really left your mark on the division, the people you work with. You've been the epitome of the profession. You've been a good credit to the company. You leave a lot of disciples and fellow students behind. And yes, Gerry, I will continue to work with that frustrated accountant, Mike Westwood. And sooner or later, maybe we'll be able to call him a bean counter. It's my pleasure tonight to present to you, in behalf of the Financial Services and Operations Department, a gift of our appreciation. I hope you enjoy it. God bless. Happy retirement. He just whispered me, this is what he's been waiting for, the gifts. It's past his bedtime.
I brought my knife tonight. Who said I'm not mechanically What's that, Frank?
Don't touch yourself.
I'm not Gerry Rust. We've got a putting coach here, and then a book on the PGA Tour.
Thank you, Ken. You know, Jim Osterman and I got together this afternoon in his office, trying to think a little bit about his role in this. As company president, he certainly needs to put on more of a dignified, distinguished tone to this gathering tonight. So we're talking about what he should say and what he should not say. And the only advice that I had for him is, for God's sakes, Jim, don't mention Good Time Charlie's. Jim Osterman.
Charlie's kind of a funny name. I won't talk about Good Time Charlie's, but the other night we had the new president from Blunt out here, and Gerry was asking him very difficult questions, and he kept referring to Gerry as Charlie, so it's kind of appropriate. But I talked with Dick today and thought about what I really should say about Gerry, and whether I should be presidential like Red or talk golf stories like most people do. And gee, that's really not honest. I really should tell people what I know about Neck. And thought back to when Fran left, and Fran said, Jim, I have a little advice for you. When it comes to Gerry, love, honor, and obey him. Don't tell him anything at all, because he's the guy that's going to keep you out of jail. He's the most straight-laced guy I know. And I always thought, well, Gerry's, he wears white socks, plays golf, keeps record, really is straight as an arrow, not very worldly. And then we took him to Alaska, but I promised not to talk about Good Time Charlie's. But I guess I really don't need to, because I found the real Knechtel in Russia. And what I'm about to tell you is the honest-to-God truth. I was sitting in my office today trying to write my notes on what I wanted to talk about, and I started giggling. I just couldn't get these things down. And Kathy and Eileen were out there going crazy trying to figure out why I was giggling in there, and my eyes were watering, and finally I had to walk out of the room. And they said, what's wrong with you? And I said, well, I'm going to tell some stories on Gerry tonight. And I keep visualizing the situation he was in, and nobody's going to believe me. And I'm not sure it'll be funny to anybody else, but it was the funniest situation I've ever seen in my life. Not being very worldly, I thought this would be a good time for Gerry to get out and see what's happening in the communist part of the world. So Gerry, Nick Galovich, and I traveled to Moscow. And Gerry's eyes were really opened wide there. We met with the ministry, and he made a friend right away. And the guy said, well, we're going to go to Frunze. We went out and got on an airplane, and he said to Gerry, have you ever had vodka before? And Gerry said, no, I've never tried vodka before. So he had 5 hours of vodka testing with Eugene, Gerry, if you remember that. First time in his life, he survived it, barely, but I was really proud of him. I thought, gee, this guy isn't so naive after all. The next day we were invited out with guests, and they started out with vodka. And Gerry showed them his newfound skills and promptly drank all of the Russians under the table. It was quite a surprise to Nick and I. And I was very impressed. But next day, we were all invited to a Muslim home, and I thought, boy, this is really going to get Gerry, because, you know, you really have to eat some nasty things when you go to a Russian Muslim home. They slaughter a sheep in your honor, and they cook it, and you literally eat all of that sheep. And I could hardly wait to see them bring the head in on a platter, and Gerry take a look at that. But I was really impressed. Knechtel ate the ears, he ate the intestines, and he ate an eyeball. And I said, what in the world's wrong with you, Nick? Do you think you're the gambling or the galloping gourmet or something? He said, Jim, I can eat anything when it's free. But after an awful lot of drinking, and Gerry again was showing these new acquired skills, he kept us going, and the only one he killed was Nick Galovich. Nick went straight down, face in his platter. 4 of us, including Gerry, carried Nick out to the van and put Nick in the van, and we started driving back to town. And Gerry was sitting in the back seat next to a lovesick old Russian who had too much to drink. And soon after we started, you know, this is going to be hard to tell, but soon after we started, the action in the back seat began to look like a high school night at the drive-in. The old Russian was wooing and Gerry was cooing. And then the old Russian was doing his best to hug and kiss Nick. And I tell you, this is true story. Nick could verify it if he hadn't passed out. But the van had to make an emergency stop for Nick. And first time I've ever heard Gerry scream for help, he said, Jim, help me, please. I can't keep this guy away from me. I helped Gerry out of the van, and we both sat out in the street and laughed. But I tell you, I've never seen a more pitiful guy in my whole life. But I really started to wonder, and next day we had this huge Russian named Victor. He was colonel in the Russian army, and he told us he wanted to invite us to a hot sauna, and that he really wanted to give Gerry a massage. And the last time I remember Gerry was when he was headed into the massage room with Victor. And I think I'll leave the story right about here, but you know, Gerry, a wooden jewelry box. But it just taught me that you can't judge a man by his white socks, his golf, or his bookkeeping. But I'd like to close this portion
by saying that it's really been fun working with Gerry. Had lots of laughs. I'll never forget the time I taught him to play 4 and 14. Too long a story, but broke Gerry's heart because he lost a lot of money. Had lots of hard times through the company. He's been excellent counsel for me and seriously just respected by everyone that's ever worked with him. And if I could, I'd like to have Gerry come up and accept a couple things. First one, it's customary when you leave Omark, retire. I should say blunt now. There's 10 shares and your employee VIP identity so that you can always get back in the building. And I'd like to give those to Gerry.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah. Also, the directors and I thought, it's really appropriate that we should buy Gerry a gift. And, we sat down and had a hard time. We thought, this gift should be something that Gerry will value, he'll use, he'll keep, and never lose. And it took some time, but after we really zeroed in on it, we thought that we really found the ideal gift for him. And I'd like to give that to you now, Gerry.
Thank you.
May you have many years of good and valuable use out of that. I'm sure you will. But the directors also thought that it'd really be nice that with Gerry's split personality, now that he's home full-time, that we should give Marlene a gift. And Marlene, I'd like you to come up and accept a gift from the directors. And we really hope you get a chance to wear these out.
I do too. Wow.
You have your knife, Gerry?
I got my knife, Jim.
Don't cut Marlene.
Marlene's going to use it. No.
Right. Gerry.
You're going to use the sharp end.
You open that up.
I don't save the paper much.
I know. That's wonderful. Do you get the hint?
We understand from some of the company friends that the children, when they left home, took all the luggage. And we understand that they do plan to travel. And like I said, we hope that they really get a chance to use it and wear it out. As soon as Gerry figures out how to open these boxes, he gets a chance for rebuttal.
Great. Wonderful. I'll just say a few words. I just want to thank you for the luggage. We've planned a wonderful trip for September. Gerry made the reservations a year ago, and we're leaving for the Pendleton Roundup.
And you think I was joking about worldly. Don't ever let him take you to Russia, Marlene.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, thank you. We'll miss you, Knack.
Thanks, fellow directors, but I do have a few words to say here. It won't be long, 5 minutes. First of all, I tried to correct Dick after all these years that I came up to Portland rather than down to Portland. Guelph is south of Portland. Next thing, Larry Ward, you're absolutely right. I don't plan on going ocean fishing again, and I'll buy my salmon. And then Charlie Bailey and Jim Peck. I have a confession to make. After all these years of saying that I learned to play golf on the gravel streets of Kitchener, they really are paved, and I'm puzzled where you got this gravel term. And then Mike Westwood, my friend. Mike, I was asked to ask you tonight, after our new president's visit last Monday and Tuesday, if you could describe to the audience in 10 words or less your feelings about that man. And then one for Wes, my old partner Wes. I thought you'd mention the story, Wes, about the long drive where, you kind of lucked out on me. We're driving down this fairway, and I just hit a boomer of a drive, and Wes says, "Geez, Nick, you really hit that drive." I said, "Yeah, Wes, you're right. I really caught it right in the club face." As it turned out, Wes has got better eyes than I have, and he saw that his ball was beyond mine, but he was just kind of, playing me on, and I really fell for it. And I'm surprised, Wes, that you missed that little story tonight.
I figured you'd bring it up.
And one guy that I really feared tonight, and that was Gordy Hodson. I thought Gordy might come up here and tell a couple of stories, and I was all set to leave, Gordy, but thanks for not coming up. And then lastly, Jim Afterman. Jim mentioned about the stories over in Russia, but he didn't mention that on that same trip back from Frenzy, that Jim excused himself and he kind of walked behind the van about 100 yards and he was barfing. You see, but you see, he didn't know that I was watching him. I learned that trait from the Russians, of watching and being quiet. But it's true, I learned how to, what's the word I want to say? How you swallow beer where it kind of goes right down your throat without even tasting it. Well, that's how the vodka was. But my friend Nick gave me a good tip. He says, "Listen, Gerry, after every shot of vodka, have some bread and some water." So at these various luncheons, I was always playing, the switching glass trick. Water, vodka, but those Russians are sharp. They're going to caught me, back at switching glasses. But anyway, let me just say that I really appreciate all the people that came out tonight. I didn't realize I had this many friends. And I really want to thank Donna and Sally, Verna, Wilma, and all the rest of the people that made this thing possible tonight. And I really have enjoyed my 27 years with this company. We've had some tough times and some good times. Fran did teach me a couple of the tricks of the trade. How to get along with people and keep that ball down the middle, Fran. But I really think that I'm one of the luckiest guys in this room tonight. I got a great family. I worked for a super company for 27 years. I had a job that I enjoyed coming to every day. And finally, I met a great bunch of people that I would never have met if I hadn't joined Omark. So thank you very much.
Hey, this has been great fun. It's been a big week for Gerry, I know, and his family. He's had a birthday, he's had his 31st wedding anniversary, and he's had his retirement, all in the same week. I want to especially thank those for coming, the retirees. It's especially good to see them, and the former Omarkers. But thank you all. I also want to thank very quickly those who had a part in the program: Mike Westwood, Wilma, Wes, John Kreitz, John Hannaford, Cyril and Jan, Larry White, Larry Ward, Donna, Kent, Wendell, Fran, Bob, Charlie, and Jane. Thank you all so much. Gerry, thank you for the friendship. Thank you for the memories. We'll miss you. Drive safely and good night.